How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, I have some very entertaining battles for you guys, featuring a new Pokemon, Hawlucha. Now, I know you guys are probably already thinking at this point, yeah, we already know about Hawlucha. We've seen like 5 content creators already post Hawlucha videos, and you are correct. I have been a little bit slow here, but what makes these videos entertaining is that they were submitted to me by DrLuv. Now, for those of you guys who are not familiar with who DrLuv is, you are about to find out. But I do actually recommend that you check out my Master Premiere video from last season. That video features DrLuv's push to the leaderboards, and as you see by that graphic beneath my face there, he made 3590 last season. And to be honest, while that is extremely impressive, it is really not anything unusual by his standards. He hits the leaderboards every season, and I have seen him make it that high in the past. So, very, very talented battler. And basically, anytime he sends in footage, you know that the battles are going to be of the highest quality, regardless of the team that he's running. So, I am super excited to see this footage. I have not seen it yet, other than just very briefly previewing it. So, I am super excited to see what he can do here in the Open Great League. And then Hawlucha, of course, as again, I'm sure you guys have already seen, absolute beast. Even though it got nerfed, Flying Press is just an absolutely incredible move. 40 energy for 95 damage. So the fact that the fast move and the aerial ace are just not the best really does not matter, because Hawlucha's typing along with Flying Press makes it a threat in pretty much any line. So as you see there, he's running 2 very bulky mons with it, Azu and Noctowl, and basically those are just going to be there to absorb damage and give Hawlucha a shield advantage. And basically, if you can give Hawlucha a shield advantage, there are very few things that can wall it. So we're going to take a look at, I think, 5 or 6 battles with this team, and then he also sent me in 5 battles with an Umbreon lead in place of the Azu. So we're going to take a look at those in the second half of this video. So that being said, let's jump right into these battles and see what DrLuv can do with Hawlucha. Alright, getting into the first set of battles here, he's leading Azu into Seviper, so pretty cool pick by the opponent, honestly, but not the best thing for his team to see, because it does core break the Azu and the Hawlucha. So brings in the Noctowl as a safe switch, and the opponent is actually going to stay in and probably Poison Fang and dip out of here, so we'll have to see what they decide to bring in. And they actually bring in a Bubble Jellicent, so even though this thing is running Bubble and not Hex, still a pretty bad matchup for them. And yeah, they actually do respect the Shadow Ball as well. So, and it looks like they actually over-farm and let him get to another Shadow Ball. So, questionable play by the opponent there. Because this Shadow Ball, yeah, this Shadow Ball does a ton of damage. And this will probably be a Surf, and it probably will KO the Noctowl. But he's effectively now gotten himself a shield advantage, which is perfect. And the opponent actually is running Bubble Beam as well. So, an old Jellicent, it appears. So he's going to bring back in the Azu here, and this is probably going to be a Shadow Ball. Yeah, going to respect it. I was going to say he could survive it if he wanted to, but going to respect it. And the opponent is a savage and actually baits him with a Bubble Beam. And because of that bait, it looks like they're going to get to another Bubble Beam. So, wow. This opponent making some very interesting plays, but actually ends up working out for them, because now this Azu is double debuffed. So, yeah, going to bait with the Ice Beam. But if the opponent calls this, this is not going to do a whole lot of damage, but they do shield it, so that's very nice. Now he has all shields down on the opponent's side for his Hawlucha to potentially sweep this endgame. Gonna respect the Poison Fang, probably just in case there's a heavy fast move pressure in the back, because Hawlucha isn't the tankiest mon around. So gonna take care of this thing, and hopefully, since the opponent stayed in, hopefully this means there's something weak in the back, and of course it's a Registeel. And even though Flying Press is only 40 energy, you're going to see this move hits like an absolute truck. And that does like 2/3 of Registeel's health, and the threat of another is going to force them to throw right away. And I think that Azu should have this game in the bag now, because obviously Zap Cannon's going to be one-shotting there, but Azu should... I'm not sure. He actually... This is going to be extremely close, actually. And they actually do win CMP, which is crazy. But this is a very, very high-ranked Azu, so... Yeah, the Azu tanks the Zap Cannon, and he's now going to get to the Thunder, or the Hydro Pump, and this is going to be easily taking care of the Registeel. And very nice game 1 there from DrLuv. A pretty tricky lead as well. A little bit of questionable plays by the opponent, but this is the early ranks, so you do see some interesting decisions and some spicy movesets in the early ranks. So Noctowl lead in the next battle here, and gonna go straight for the Ice Beam here. The opponent knows this is an Ice Beam. Are they gonna respect the Ice Beam here? And they don't. They actually just let it go. So this is very nice. This is really where DrLuv wants to see flyers on this team, because Hawlucha doesn't love seeing flyers. So stays in. The opponent actually went for the Shadow Ball there as well, which is interesting, and gonna probably be a Sky Attack this time. And now potentially is going to force a shield off the Noctowl, but the opponent brings in a G-Fist. And the question is this G-Fist expecting the Ice Beam and Play Rough moveset? And they are, and the Hydro Pump does so much damage. And now going to bring in the Hawlucha. Unfortunately here, it would be really nice if Hawlucha had a fighting type fast move, because these poison jabs are actually triple resisted. So not going to be able to farm this thing down. And he did respect the first Rock Slide. Gonna tank this one. And the nice fighting subtyping there makes these Rock Slides only do neutral damage. And beautiful overfarm there. Perfectly throws the Flying Press on the CMP tie-in. That would force the opponent to shield if you wanted to keep the G-Fisk alive. And the opponent just decides to let it go and take their shield advantage. And they're bringing in a Lantern, which typically you would think that an electric type would have a very nice matchup against a flying type. But these poison jabs and flying presses just do so much damage that it looks like DrLuv is actually going to get both shields here with his fighting type. Very, very impressive. And now just going to let this go and give a shield advantage to his Noctowl. So I think he should be okay here. 2 Shadow Balls should just about KO this Lantern. Going to respect a potential Thunderbolt. Hopefully the opponent doesn't bait there. And they actually go for a Thunder. Wow, that definitely would have probably KO'd the Noctowl there. And they bring back in their Noctowl. So nice play by the opponent there. Gonna force him to throw some energy. And now it actually looks like he's gonna have to potentially make a catch here to win this game, because I think the opponent will just about outpace to a second Shadow Ball. And the question is, does DrLuv know the counts of Thunder? And here's our answer. He absolutely knows the Thunder counts, catches the Thunder onto the Azu, and now he's got this game in the bag. Gonna easily reach the Thunder here, and that was actually a CMP tie, I believe, to a potential Surf, and gonna take game 2 in style. Very nicely done there. Very impressive to know. Sorry, I actually just kicked my computer there. Very impressive to know the counts of a move that's not commonly seen. So nicely played there by DrLuv, and jumping right into the third battle here, Skarmory lead. Really great commentary again on my part. But this is again where you want to see the flyers on this team. And the opponent doesn't even build up to a potential Brave Bird here. This is just going to be a Sky Attack, and that is the easiest no shield of DrLuv's very illustrious career right there. And going to just go straight for the Hydro. Probably expecting a no shield, and Hydro Pump does so much damage against the Skarmory, and this time it looks like they actually are farming up to a potential Brave Bird. So yeah, going to actually respect this. He knows he could survive a Sky Attack here, but Brave Bird would be KOing, so he does commit the shield. And probably going to look for the farm down here, and does get the farm down. So very nicely done there. What is the opponent going to bring in? And they actually bring in their own Azu. He actually goes slightly over 100 energy there. And now going to go for the Hydro Pump here. And unfortunately, it would be very nice if he was running Play Rough here. And gonna just commit to another Hydro, and this is gonna be a bit tough now, because if this is a Play Rough, it'll probably KO. And the opponent baits with an Ice Beam. What a call. And now gonna get another Hydro Pump off. And honestly, it'd be really nice to get a shield here if possible. And the opponent just straight up lets that go. So gonna pivot into the Noctowl now. Probably gonna be an Ice Beam. Gonna let it go. And honestly, just gonna hope it looks like that Hawlucha has a good matchup in back, because the opponent is still hanging on to 2 shields, and Hawlucha really needs a shield advantage to fully be able to sweep this game, and the opponent just straight up lets it go, but they have an Obstagoon in the back. Oh my gosh. They unfortunately, looks like the Obstagoon's going to win CMP here to the Night Slash, but I think that Noctowl can survive, and the opponent goes for the Obstruct. Oh no, opponent. Now going to give this Noctowl a chance to get a shield here, and they do shield, so this is massive. So now just has to hope that the opponent throws some energy here, and he actually makes another Sky Attack. Is the opponent going to respect this one? And they are not. But at this point, this game is over, because Hawlucha is going to be resisting the counters and the dark moves here, and a flying press would probably KO like probably 2 full health Obstagoons. So, and yeah, the opponent's just going straight Obstruct at this point. Doesn't really matter if they're running Night Slash or the Obstruct. And he actually makes a savage catch. Doesn't even need to make that catch, but just to show him who the real boss is, he catches a Night Slash onto his Azu, and now probably could have just farmed down there if he wanted to, but wants to show him the Flying Press, throws the Flying Press, and the opponent actually commits the shield, just wanting to drag this out to the bitter end. And he could probably just no-shield this and flex on the opponent. And of course, they go for another Obstruct bait, and then he throws the Flying Press there to win CMP. And down goes the Obstagoon for another very nice win, and with a little bit of style there at the end as well. So the opponent saving 2 shields for an Obstagoon did not fare them very well in that game. So Wigglytuff here in the next battle. Pretty nice lead, honestly, for the Azu, because again, the Hawlucha definitely does not like to see Charmers, and looks like he is actually going to bait after building up to a potential Hydro Pump. Does the opponent respect it? And they do respect it, so that's very nice. And now going to pivot out into the Noctowl. I do like this play to potentially draw out an answer that the opponent might have to Flyers, like potentially an Ice or an Electric type. Going to respect the Ice Beam by the Wigglytuff, and the opponent is actually not staying in here, so this is a very good sign that they could be very weak to flying in the back. And the opponent actually commits the second shield on the Noctowl, and then they bring in a Berserker, so very spicy pick, but Berserker is pretty glassy and not going to be appreciating the Shadow Ball here, and they do not. And the nice thing here as well is that the Berserker has Shadow Claw as a fast move, so I'm not even sure that this foul play is going to KO the Noctowl here, and it doesn't KO, and now they're not even going to be able to farm down, and he gets to a Sky Attack before the Berserker gets to another move, so his Noctowl is just going to straight up beat a Steel type. Very nicely done, and the opponent is bringing back in the Wigglytuff here, and is the opponent going to... Yeah, the opponent's going to throw on the CMP, and he's actually just going to shield this up and probably take care of this Wigglytuff, and then look to farm down. Actually, I thought that was a CMP tie. That wasn't a CMP tie, so is able to actually over-farm there, which is very nice. And Ice Beam should just about take care of this, but actually the opponent switched out into a Whiscash here, so I think we should be just fine, because the Mud Bomb KOs the Azu, but the Hawlucha is easily going to outpace this Whiscash to the Blizzard. And honestly, I think Flying Press is going to take care of the Whiscash from this health range, because Flying Press is just so dang powerful. And yeah, the Whiscash is not at the Blizzard yet, so how much damage is Flying Press going to do here? And it actually takes out the Whiscash from above half health, and now he can just fully farm down the Wigglytuff for another very nice win. So well played there to DrLuv. Moving into the next battle here, and I do believe we have maybe 2 left with this lead, and then we'll be switching to the Umbreon. And the opponent has a Sableye here into his Azu, and this is actually looks like just a regular Sableye, not a return Sableye. So yeah, DrLuv is probably going to no-shield this, I would imagine, because Power Gem would just not be hitting near as hard as return. And the opponent actually baited there as well, which is massive. So even though he's not running Play Rough, still a pretty decent matchup, especially considering this is a non-purified Sableye, and doesn't want to risk having an Ice Beam called, so just goes straight for the pump there, which I really like. And again, calls the foul play bait. Absolutely massive read, and it looks like the opponent is just going to go straight foul play, but unfortunately for this opponent, foul play will not be enough to KO. So he's either here going to effectively get both shields or a shield advantage and switch advantage. So very nicely done so far. The opponent does commit the last shield, and excuse me, he actually pivots out there, saving the low health Azu, and is going to bring the Noctowl in. Probably going to respect a Power Gem here, and it is actually a Power Gem, so very cool moveset there by the opponent. And they bring in a Skarmory to the Noctowl, which is absolutely perfect, because this way the Hawlucha does not have to see the Skarmory in back, because Hawlucha doesn't really love the Skarmory matchup due to that Poison Jab. And very nicely here, throws the Shadow Ball on the CMP tied to a potential Brave Bird. And we'll have to see if the opponent's baiting here, if they're going straight for the Brave Bird. Either way, I expect we'll probably see a no-shield here. And yeah, just a Sky Attack anyway. And now, probably should just about outpace here. And actually going to make a catch on the Azu brilliant, just brilliant energy management there, brilliant reading of the game, and that, friends, is why DrLuv likes to save the low health mons there. Even though he gave up Switch to do it, as you see, that Azu basically was just like a third shield there for DrLuv. The opponent brings back in the Sableye. He's just going to get rid of it right away with a Noctowl, and now probably just going to save his last shield for Hawlucha and see if there's something in back that Hawlucha can one-shot. I like that play, just committing to the farm down, and there's a Medicham in the back, and honestly, Hawlucha is barely going to be needed in this game because this Shadow Ball is going to do so much damage, and now Hawlucha can easily just come in here, outpace the opponent, and he's got a shield in hand, so this is a GG. And probably can just go for the Flying Press here, because Flying Press is such a good move that even when Flying Press is resisted and Aerial Ace is neutral, it is still more efficient to go for Flying Press. It's just that good of a move, and very nice win in that game. Really, Hawlucha didn't have to do much. It was mainly just DrLuv's very nice play there that just destroyed that opponent. So GG's. And this is the last Azu lead battle, I believe. Pretty nice matchup here for the Azu. Again, the opponent is going to switch out here into a G-Fisk. I was going to say, again, the Azu is not running Play Rough, but still a good matchup. And does the opponent respect the pump here? And they do not. All these G-Fisks just calling that he's running Ice Beam and Play Rough. And that is probably why he's not running Play Rough right there, just for that reason. And the opponent does full send the Earthquake, but at this point he knows he can comfortably tank that move and farm all the way down. And what's the opponent going to bring in? They bring in an Altaria, so this opponent's team is effectively fully core broken by an Azu. And as Jamie Finn would say, Mr. Opponent, maybe not the best decision there on your part. So yeah, the opponent unfortunately has no response to Azu, and this Azu is going to make them pay. And again, looking like he's really not even going to need the Hawlucha in this battle, because he can just let this go, and then probably if he wanted to, he could actually probably come in here and farm down with the Hawlucha. But my guess is he'll probably just bring in the Noctowl here. It's a little bit safer. Gonna wait out his clock, and actually is gonna bring in the Hawlucha, maybe just to show the opponent that he has it, just to show this opponent that they're running a Stunfisk Medicham Altaria, and they're about to get beat by a Hawlucha. So the opponent's gonna bring back in the Medi, and yeah, he just wants to see the Hawlucha in action. Gonna throw the Aerial Ace here, and how much does Aerial Ace do against the Medi? Actually does a respectable amount of damage, considering that the Aerial Ace is an absolutely atrocious move. Does a respectable amount of damage there, and just gonna play it safe and just let that go, and actually gets to another move there on the Medicham. So he's actually gonna shield this up because he wants to Flying Press this Medicham. The Flying Press obviously is gonna be getting the shield, but then he can just come in with his Noctowl and farm down. So yeah, I was going to say if he wanted to, he could have saved the shields for Noctowl, but wanted to show the opponent his Hawlucha and show him that it was running Flying Press and can tank one move very comfortably here. And that is going to be a GG. So very well played in the first segment of these battles here with the Azu lead. And we're going to be jumping right into the Umbreon lead now. Alright, so we are now jumping into the Umbreon lead section of this video. And literally, guys, like, as I was cutting in between these takes, I'm like starting to lose my voice from all the excitement that DrLuv is providing. So I apologize if my voice is even more scratchy than it was already. But we're going to get through these last 5 battles, and I'm excited to see how changing up the lead is going to affect this team. And the first battle already would have been really nice if we still had the Azu, because we're leading into an Altaria. And I am just now realizing that my graphic is wrong. This Umbreon is actually running Dark Pulse, so ignore that foul play. Dark Pulse is going to give this Umbreon just a little bit heavier hitting charge move at the cost of it being slightly more expensive. So we'll have to see if this actually affects any of the matchups. And the opponent does full send the Moonblast there. He lets it go. Likes to just use the Umbreon as a meat shield, he said, basically. And it actually looks like a third Dark Pulse would KO. I'm not sure if 3 foul plays would KO the Altaria, so Dark Pulse providing some nice, heavier hitting damage, and this actually forces the Altaria to throw right away. So not able to farm down, and now just going to bring the Noctowl in and commit to the full Wing Attack farm down. And probably going to have to eat a move. Yeah, going to have to eat the Sky Attack here, but Noctowl's very, very bulky and can tank this quite comfortably. So what is the opponent going to have in the back is the question here. And they have a Magcargo, so that's a little bit rough, not going to lie. Going to get the Shadow Ball off here, and really could use a shield here, because with 2 shields, this Magcargo is going to be a bit scary for his Hawlucha. And going to just settle for the Sky Attack, knowing that the opponent is just going to be getting to their move here. And the opponent actually does shield, which is massive. And they don't throw their move before switching out. So going to have full attack here, non-debuff. Throwing the move on the CMP tied to the Vigoroth. And Vigoroth just straight up lets it go and gets one-shotted by Flying Press there. Flying Press, excuse me. So the Vigoroth was probably thinking that they could survive any one move, but they were very, very wrong. And now with a 2-0 shield advantage, or 2-1 shield advantage, I should say, Hawlucha is easily going to be able to Flying Press this game for the win, and gets the shield with the first one, and easily going to be able to just shield up and outpace to the second one. And that's going to be a GG. I feel like this game is one of the best showcases we've seen of Hawlucha's closing power so far, because Flying Press, guys, it's just so dang spammy. There's no way that a spammy move like that should be that heavy hitting. So very nice win there, especially with the bad lead. And moving into the next battle here, so far it looks like the Umbreon lead isn't really taking much away from this team. So a Sirfetch'd lead in the next battle. So this is probably even worse than the Altaria, and actually going to bring in the Hawlucha here, probably recognizing that it's his soft counter to the Sirfetch'd, and I don't think that was quite enough for a Braver, but it could be a potential close combat, so he does respect it, and unfortunately it was just a Leaf Blade, and the opponent actually brings in an Alolan Marowak, so this is not looking good, because obviously you can't go for the double resisted Flying Press, and as you see, Aerial Ace is just a very bad move, and unfortunately the opponent does outpace to a potential Shadow Bone. Just going to let it go, and the opponent baits with a Bone Club. Oh no, opponent. That is not the play, my friend, because that was such a dominant matchup for them, and they shield the Aerial Ace, so the opponent has just given him a chance here to actually get something out of this mid-game matchup, and they're actually throwing energy as well, so really, this mid-game matchup went just about as good as possible for DrLuv, because the opponent easily there could have just Shadow Boned his Hawlucha, come out with a lot of HP and some energy remaining. So now he's an even shield, so this is actually not terrible. Looks like he actually could potentially fully snarl down this thing, leave with 100 energy, and that's going to basically threaten either a shield or heavy damage on this Sirfetch'd when it comes back in. So that's exactly what he's doing. Takes 2 Bone Clubs like it's nothing. Still has above half health, and very nicely throws 1 Snarl and then the move for correct timing. And going to potentially force a shield here. And yeah, the Sirfetch'd actually does respect a potential Psychic there. And now going to get this last resort off. And I don't think this will quite KO, but can probably come in with a Noctowl and Snipe. And unfortunately, the opponent recognizes it and throws the move. So I think this will probably just be a Leaf Blade, though. And yeah, it is a Leaf Blade. So very nicely done there. Makes the most out of that mid-game matchup. And now the opponent has a Charizard in the back. And this is going to be a GG, because Shadow Ball is going to do so much damage, and then can probably just safely no-shield this and save his shield for the Umbreon if he wants to, because Blast Burn will probably KO, but that's going to require them to expend all their energy. And the opponent baits with a Dragon Claw, and they throw again right away. So this is only a Dragon Claw, and yeah, he can just safely shield this up and just Wing Attack farm down. And very nicely done by DrLuv there. Again, a very tough lead that he manages to take advantage of. Pretty, honestly, a poorly played mid-game there by the opponent. But honestly, guys, one of the signs of a good player is taking advantage of when your opponent doesn't play perfectly and making the best of it and giving yourself an advantage. So next battle here, we're seeing our Umbreon into a Noctowl here, pretty neutral. Again, he's probably going to be staying in here because he does not want his Hawlucha lined up against this Noctowl in the endgame. So going to just stay in, and honestly, I would imagine that Umbreon probably wins most neutral leads just due to its crazy bulk. So the opponent brings in the Lantern, and DrLuv is not messing around today. He is bringing his Flying type into an Electric type, and honestly, Flying Press doesn't even care about typings, because this, honestly, I would imagine is going to KO this Lantern from this health range. So, going to shield up. Hopefully he doesn't get baited here, and unfortunately he does get surf baited. But the opponent is over farming, probably not recognizing how spammy Flying Press is. Loses CMP, calls that he can survive it, and actually gets one-shotted by the Flying Press. So, what you just saw there is Hawlucha just straight up beat a Lantern in the one shield. And now the opponent's bringing back in their Noctowl, and he's going to actually shield up his Hawlucha here. And it looks like he just wants to show us how good Hawlucha is. He shields that up and gonna throw the flying press here, and the opponent just straight up lets it go, and they have a Trevenant in the back, and Noctowl just comes in, shuts it all down, forces the top left, and the opponent just allowed their Noctowl and Lantern to get taken out by a flying type, and then gets fully countered by the Noctowl in the endgame. So that opponent is probably slapping themselves in the face right now, but very well played by DrLuv. And I believe we have 2 left, guys, so another Altaria lead here. We've seen this play out. Again, not the best situation, but actually this looks like maybe it's just a Sky Attack here. I don't think the opponent even built up to a Moonblast here, and yeah, just a Sky Attack. So nice recognition there by DrLuv. And again, Umbreon, at the very least in this matchup, can force the Altaria to throw right away to avoid being taken out by a third Dark Pulse. So likely just going to see no shields on his part and just give himself a shield advantage for either his Noctowl or his Hawlucha. And the opponent actually shielded the second Dark Pulse there, so that's awesome, honestly, for him. And if this is a Sky Attack, he can probably survive it and get to another Dark Pulse, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Survives the Sky Attack, gets to the Dark Pulse, and this is going to make the farm down. Oh my gosh, the opponent actually caught on an Azu. Very nicely done there. I did not see that catch, so very nicely done by the opponent there. I was going to say, would probably put the Altaria into a Sky Attack or Wing Attack farm down range for the Noctowl, and the opponent actually throws the Ice Beam right away. So this is not a play rough. He knows he can live that, and it actually looks like Hawlucha might be able to get to another move, and on 1 HP, Hawlucha gets to another Flying Press. And if the opponent no-shields this, which they do, Hawlucha just straight up wins the 0 shield against Azumarill. That is absolutely incredible. So Hawlucha takes out the Azumarill, and they bring back in the Altaria, and now Noctowl is looking pretty nice to close here, because hopefully that Azu was their best counter to a flyer. And I think that this Altaria is just about in Sky Attack range here, so should be KOing if they don't give up their last shield, and they just let it go down. What's in the back? And actually it's a G-Fisk, so this is going to be a close endgame. It is 1-to-1 shields, and he does have the Umbreon for a potential sack swap if he needs it. So gets this Shadow Ball off first, and the nice thing here is even though he is not at full health, he can still comfortably tank 1 Rock Slide, and he does tank that. And I believe that he should... This is going to be close. I'm not sure if he's going to need to sack swap this or not. I believe if he correctly can bait, he may just outpace the Noctowl to the Shadow Ball. We'll have to see. It's going to be very, very close. If the opponent no-shields this, though, they do shield it, so that's massive. And now wins CMP on the Shadow Ball. Beautiful recognition there. Knew he did not need to make that catch to win this game. And I'm not sure, this barely might not KO, and yeah, it doesn't quite KO. But now, since it's the CMP tie, the opponent cannot overfarm, and they couldn't anyway because they were so low. And now Umbreon can come in and probably 1-2 Snarls, it looks like, takes out the Stunfisk. And very nicely done there. That battle we saw Hawlucha just straight up beat an Azu. And as you saw, Flying Press, even when resisted, just does so much damage. And I believe this is the last battle, guys. So Dragonair here. And again, Umbreon's going to be winning basically all neutral scenarios. So pretty nice situation for him to be in. Probably, again, just going to stay in here and try to get himself a shield advantage. So staying in, the Dragon Breaths are adding up, but even if this is a Dragon Pulse, he can easily survive this and no-shield it. So that's exactly what he does. And it's just an Aqua Tail. The opponent was baiting anyway, so gonna get the Dark Pulse off. Again, Dark Pulse does seem to have some nice play because it does two-shot a lot of mons that Foul Play might not necessarily two-shot, and the opponent actually has a Toxicroak in the back, so actually stays in, and this will almost for sure guarantee a shield. Oh my gosh, the opponent actually called that. I was going to say they pretty much have to shield in case it's a Psychic, but the opponent is a savage and just straight up calls that move, so very, very impressive by the opponent. I thought for sure they were going to shield that. And will he call a Sludge Bomb here? No. Just lets it go. And the opponent brings a Noctowl into the... Or, excuse me, the opponent brings a an Alolan Marowak into a loaded Noctowl and no shields. And oh my gosh, what is this opponent doing? And now can just bring in the Hawlucha and probably honestly just shield once and farm all the way down. And they full send the Shadow Bone. Wow. The opponent in this battle just making some very questionable plays. And yeah, gonna just double shield the Hawlucha here. And honestly, with this much health, I think there's basically nothing this Toxicroak can do, because it already dumped its energy on the Noctowl. Can probably double Aerial Ace this, get both shields, and then get into a move on the Noctowl. And honestly, it's getting so low at this point that Noctowl will probably just be able to wing attack farm down after these Aerial Aces get shielded. So, wow, the opponent, not only did they call the last resort there, they called the Shadow Ball on their AWOC, and yeah, they're going to just lose the game here because they were saving their shields for the next battle. And yeah, obviously they used them at the end, but really, guys, very interesting plays by the opponent in that game. But really, I think we can all say for sure that we definitely saw some very nice plays by DrLuv. Regardless of the bad plays by some of the opponents, DrLuv, as always, does not disappoint with his high-level reads. Very nice energy management and just spot-on counting. Because myself, in these live battles, I was not counting, and he just had full control of the battles the whole game. So, thank you so much for watching. Sorry again, I know I'm starting to lose my voice here at the end of this video, but I hopefully am still going to be able to get you guys out some Shadow Ho-Oh content tomorrow night, so we'll see. But again, thanks for watching, and remember, guys, if you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.